Welcome to another exciting episode of HTM on the Line. I'm your host, Bryant Hawkins Sr., and today we've got something truly special for you. Get ready for an inspiring conversation with my friend, Justin Smith, a trailblazer in the healthcare technology management industry. With over 20 years of experience, Justin's journey is packed with dedication, leadership, and mentorship that will leave you fired up. If you're searching for motivation and how to lead, mentor, and make a lasting impact in your community through HTM, then buckle up. This episode is made for you. Welcome to HTM on the Line. I have a special guest with me today. I'm joined by Justin Smith. Justin, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, Bryant. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing just great, man. I'm glad you took a little time out your busy schedule to join me. First thing, just tell the listeners a little about yourself, Justin. Tell us about your journey in the HTM industry.
Oh man, that could take a little bit, right? But
the short version.
Got to give you the short version. Short version is I fell into the industry and now I'm here. No, but seriously, for me, my journey through the industry was not like unlike other people's. But I will say this: I didn't know that our industry existed, and I think that's a pretty common theme throughout our profession. A lot of people, especially from 20 plus years ago, had that same kind of beginning. So in my case, I started in 99, 2000. I went to school for electronic engineering technology, and I just thought I was going to be a guy working on computers or video games or installing network systems, something to that effect. But life had a different path for me. And with that, I ended up in the medical industry, working on the medical rental side for many years. I did that, and that's how I got my first introduction to clinical engineering or healthcare technology management, which was then more known as biomedical engineering. From there, I was able to excel with the company that I was with in medical rental. That company no longer exists anymore. It's going through some hands changing. I did that for about 3 to 4 years. And then I found myself working inside the actual hospital system up in Jacksonville, Florida, actually. Stayed with that organization for several years, got a lot of, training. My expertise was in pulmonary ventilation to be exact, balloon pumps, patient monitoring, but I kind of did it all. Even learned how to do dental x-ray installations back in those days, all over the state and even outside of the state as well. Then I got the opportunity to leave that organization and join another organization in 2008. And with that organization, I got an opportunity to, start a hospital from ground up, basically, meaning it was owned by one organization, a health system I went to work for, purchase it, and I got to go in and help stand up that program for HTM. From there, I was there. I got a lot of leadership opportunities for both the organizations. I got in leadership programs that they had exclusively for individuals that were looking for that opportunity to go up the ladder. And I was always pretty ambitious and looking for different projects and such. And I got into each of those programs at the different hospital organizations. From there, I actually got the great opportunity to relocate from Jacksonville, Florida to Orlando, Florida, to open up a brand new pediatric standalone hospital. And that experience to date is one of the greatest experiences that I ever had. I mean, I got to get in there with healthcare executives and other leaders within the health system and create a culture and environment that to this day is still standing. And I got to create a team for the first time on my own as being the leader there. And I remained with that team for 10 years. Fun fact, we were even featured in the Technician magazine many years ago because of what we were doing. And so that was exciting. From there, I did a host of different things within the organization that I work with. I even did some things outside of the organization as well to help me gain further insights into our profession and what we're doing. Started doing more volunteer work as well. Outside of that, because of my connection to what we do, I became a member of a nonprofit, the Lung Association of Central Florida, the local chapter. And that's been very rewarding. And, I like to think about my my ascension, if you want to call it, throughout my career and how at every step, it was really a step that I couldn't have foreseen for myself, but I had mentors along the way that saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself and gave me opportunities that I come later to realize I earned those opportunities because of the type of work ethic and things that I've done. And, being in leadership is not easy, but you know what? Being a technician is not easy. I always felt we were the unsung heroes when it came to the organizations that we serve. We provided such a great service that sometimes goes unnoticed. But I would say with the work that you've been doing, Brian, and others in our profession, that has started to shift pretty significantly. Still a long way to go, but it's definitely leaps and bounds from what it was when I started over 2 decades ago. So that's kind of a quick synopsis of my journey, but
Man, that's a nice journey you had there, brother. I picked up on you said you worked at a pediatric hospital. I'm currently working at one, and I can tell you that it's like almost a blessing just to go to work every day and see the good you do towards those children, helping them to get the medical health care they need by keeping the equipment functioning. Let me just ask you this then, since you worked at a pediatric, do you have a story you can share with us? One great story working at a pediatrics hospital you could share with us?
oh man, you know, I think my journey was even a little bit before that, working for that hospital. And I'll tell you a little bit of my connection and purpose, and it really should tie in into when I was working for the pediatric hospital too. So, like I said earlier in the conversation, I worked in medical rental. So for many years, I learned how to work on ventilators. I delivered ventilators to hospitals all over Florida and even in some in Georgia. And in that role, I basically just dropped equipment off the respiratory and went on to the next hospital. Well, when I got the opportunity to work in the hospital in Jacksonville, I actually myself had a six month old daughter at that time, one of my 4 kids that I have. And I remember walking through that NICU and seeing the ventilators that I had worked on that had my credentials on the sticker that said that Justin said that this device was ready to be used to support sustaining life. That hit me in a different kind of way that I didn't expect at that time. And I would say, bringing something to a community that didn't exist in that immediate area, does exist from a pediatric standpoint in the city, but in this standalone way and opening the doors for the first time, bringing in the first patient and knowing that the team had done everything that they could to make sure that equipment was ready to go was always just such a great achievement for the overall team and for the organization. I would say, far as that one story that hits the hardest, I still think it's just a combination of things. And what I mean by that, all of them at their any given time felt just special. Always made me feel as though what we were doing meant so much, and it meant so much more to the people that were receiving the care. the parents, the grandparents, the other guardians, and of course the child, right? They're so resilient. And to see them going through the things that they were going through, and knowing that the healthcare organization that I worked for was actually providing a high level of care on a consistent basis, and the team that supports those medical devices were doing the things that needed and were supposed to be done, and our equipment was helping them save or enhance lives.
Wow. Now, let's just switch gears a little bit here. Now, you mentioned you started in this industry back in 2000, 2002, something like that.
Yeah, it was late 99, 2000 when I
Okay. So
started.
we're looking at almost 25 years, over
Yeah.
25 years, actually. That's a long time. Congratulations. Now, how, in your opinion, do you think the HTM industry has evolved over the years? And what significant changes have you witnessed?
Well, I think that thinking about when I first got in, one, I don't believe as an industry we saw ourselves as the professionals that we are. And I don't know if that was just the culture of which some of us worked in, or it was just a mindset. But I've seen that definitely shift over the past 2.5 decades now. I would say one of the greatest things that has been achievable in our industry is the fact that we're getting to sit at the table to talk to leaders across health systems to help them see how we can support them in their efforts to provide care. And then the technology that we started to really put in place, and the partnerships that's been made to enhance training opportunities for our technicians, and the training opportunities that organizations are also providing their leadership. I think in the past, leaders were not necessarily given the additional training that they needed, and that affected the culture of which we were in at those times, because they just didn't know. They come up through different ways, through different non-corporate entities, maybe some small business, maybe other informal ways. And with that, it was just a lot of things that some of us, we just didn't know, myself included in that. And I like to say now, with platforms like yours, that's bringing a different kind of awareness as well, and kind of, like a little bit more of a rock star type of vibe to it. We're able to reach a different age group as well, and getting them involved in what we do. I mean, the work that you're doing within your local community, Brian, is been aspiring to me as well, or inspiring, I should say. Um, you know, I wish we would have had something like that when I was in high school, even in college, trying to figure out what I really was going to do. There was nobody highlighting that this profession existed, and there's more work, so much more work being done in that, with all of the different shows that's out there, locally, statewide, and even nationally. And I think those are some of the biggest accomplishments in our profession. And I could probably keep going, but I just had to kind of highlight a few things.
I appreciate that kind word, the kind words also. But one of the reasons why I created this podcast, so people like you can come on here and share your stories. And because there's a lot of stories out there we all can go on with. But I think personally, when individuals can hear the challenges that HTM professionals go through, it kind of humanizes our industry a little more and gets more appreciation for it. Now, you touched on leadership, how you see that people are being trained more how to become better leaders. What leadership qualities do you believe are essential for success in the HTM industry?
I think that when a leader has the ability to help their people in ways that's unexpected, and what I mean by that is, one, we all need to have higher levels of emotional intelligence in our workspace. But going to our technicians or even our own bosses or colleagues and having the conversations about things that we're experiencing, meaning the challenges, the great accomplishments, and all that makes up the environment that we're in. I think one of the things that resonated with me as a technician, and I tried to take with me when I got in leadership, though, was when I had a leader that identified that I was doing something well and did it before it was time for annual review. Had purposeful conversations with me about the work that I was doing well or something that I could improve upon in, right? Understanding that the people that they're leading are still human beings, and we all are going to have times where we're not performing at the highest. But if we don't give that crucial feedback as positively as possible, then we're not doing justice to our team. And I think also understanding as a leader where you need improvement, self-awareness, right? We're not always the smartest person in the room for whatever technology we're responsible for, but understanding who you can get with to help you gain the insights that you need, meaning your technician or calling a vendor partner, whomever that is, understanding your resources. And a lot of times those resources are right at your fingertips. And it's a call, it's an email, it's a text, it's just a conversation. And if I had to add anything else, and I know it's probably going to seem very minimalized, but I learned this from a former colleague a long time ago. Being personable and remembering people, even if you don't remember the name, if you can remember something about them, it humanizes yourself, but it also lets them know that you were paying attention to whatever conversations you may have had in the past. And those things help you build relationships, building relationships throughout not just your team, but outside of your peer group, on the executive levels, in your communities. Building those relationships will help you gain far more success than a lot of other things that you may think.
That's so true. That's so true. Now, I love the qualities you mentioned about being a leader. And along with that, most leaders should always, in my opinion, look at themselves as mentors. And no doubt, just from talking with you, I'm sure you probably had a mentor or plenty of mentors in your career. And if so, can you share a story about a mentor who probably influenced you in your professional growth?
Yeah, I had a mentor. It's interesting because this was a gentleman that actually saw something in me in, I would say, midway through my career to date. And I was a technician. And I just did what was needed to be done to make sure that we were prepared for, regulatory visits and things to that nature. But I guess somewhere along the line, I must have pressed upon him that I wanted to be more, do more. And as the years passed on, he tapped me to do more things, different projects and such. Well, he ended up leaving the organization and went to another organization. So I, lost contact with him. Knew he was out there, but didn't know exactly where he was at. Well, that pediatric only hospital that I was talking to you about, he ended up being a leader there. And during the midst of going through the process of looking for leadership for clinical engineering, I got the opportunity to put in for that role. And I ultimately got that role. And so I got to stay under his leadership for a pretty long time, pretty much 10, 12 years span in total. Well, during my time there, it was instances where, like everybody, we have something that comes up and all hands on deck, and we need to formulate a plan around whatever's going on and do it. Well, this one particular time, my mentor came to me because we had different conversations about me wanting to grow and potentially look at going into higher levels of leadership. Well, we needed to open a unit, right? Who's in our profession haven't had to do that, right? You got a shift, you got an influx of patients coming in because the census is high, and you got to open up this area that you don't use that often. And of course, in healthcare fashion, the equipment that was there has found its way off somewhere else. It grows feet at times. And so he asked me, would I go in and help lead the efforts to get that unit up? And at the time, Bryant, I was a bit set back because in my mind, I thought that was a clinician thing to do because it wasn't just about the medical equipment. And I even asked him, hey, you sure you want me to, take the lead on doing this? And he said, I called you, didn't I? And I said, yes, you did. And so we went from there. I was able to formulate a team that was not just healthcare technology team, but also clinical leaders, environmental service leaders, IT, facilities, food and nutrition. And in a short amount of time, we were able to come together, identify what we need, and we got that area up and ready for patients in the time that was needed. So we didn't have to continue to hold and like the ED and other places like that. And that mentor chose me to do that in that moment because he needed someone that could execute the plan in a way that he thought it needed to be done, and somebody that would tell him, hey, this is the barriers that we have, and this is the proposed solution that we've come up with as a collective team, so that he could help remove those barriers. And I don't think that would have happened if it had not been for a mentor like him who had seen me grow from a technician and get into leadership and just give me that kind of opportunity.
That's awesome, honestly, to have a mentor like that. And you guys still friends to this day?
Unfortunately, he passed last year. Great guy, great guy. He was a mentor to so many people, quite honestly. And I think about him consistently, especially if I'm going through something and I need to kind of figure out every now and then. I go like, what would he do if he was here and I could call him up and ask him? And, he just gave me so many tools over the years that I felt like I've been prepared to sit in a room with anyone. And quite honestly, I have. I've sat in a room with a lot of people that some might think I don't belong there. But I have. I've been there and had great outcomes and continue to have good relationships and even new relationships like ours, Brian. We're fairly new friends, and but it's been great in the short amount of time that we've been able to just dialogue.
Hey man, I've never met a stranger, so we were friends from hello. But that's inspiring. My condolences too on your mentor passing, but obviously that's the beauty of mentoring because it lives on, and it lives on through the people that you mentor and inspire. And it's truly a blessing to see how he's inspired you, and no doubt that inspiration and mentorship that he put up on you probably passed on to many people. And just thinking, you mentioned how you assisted open up a hospital and you worked in various roles in various organizations. You was the leader of a HTM team. Couple all that in, and with all the changes you've seen since 1999 in the HTM industry, what advice would you give to someone just starting out in the HTM industry?
I would say probably a couple of things. One, always do your due diligence about this profession and what it is that we do. Find someone that you can tie yourself to as a mentee, meaning find yourself a mentor in this space, if at all possible. stay up on any type of articles and the different advances in technology outside of healthcare, because it's the same. Like the technology that you use at home is being used in healthcare in a lot of ways too, as well. And the other thing I would say is have a level of patience as you go through and navigate this profession, and be okay with being uncomfortable. And when I say be okay with being uncomfortable, meaning that we are in a healthcare environment, we do have to go into rooms where people are in situations that we may not have encountered before. We are expected to conduct ourselves as though it's us that needs that help and care, because one day it really probably will be that us that's in that patient bed or on that OR table. Be curious and come from a place of curiosity when you're asking questions and you're seeking knowledge, and find that thing that you think that you would love to do for a long time, because that's the thing that will keep pressing you forward in your technology space. And ask for what you want. If you want to learn how to work on a piece of equipment, ask. And if you can't get the training at a school, then that's where relationships evolve from with your peer group, if possible. OJT is still a great thing to get.
Awesome. Now, I've seen this report about you, sir, where you received some recognition for what you do outside of work. Tell us about that recognition you received, and why did you receive that recognition?
Well, I like to think it's because of the way I participated in other things within the organization as well, and I'm not afraid to speak on what I believe, and I don't have a problem with sharing and being transparent. And in that particular instance, I had the opportunity to take time off that was provided by my organization, and I was able to use it in a way that was just really powerful and a little bit emotional for me. And kind of went like this: have a day I can use it out the year to do different things. And the intent of that day is to find something that you want to experience, you want to learn, or something in the community, whatever it is that you want to do with that day. And for me, in that instance, I was trying to figure out what was that? What did I want to do? Well, I went to church one Sunday, and they're doing their announcements. I'm sure we're familiar with that. And so happened a food drive was going to be done on my actual birthday, which was also happened to be a weekday. And I leaned over to my wife and said, "Hey, that's what I want to do for my birthday, and that's what I want to use that day for." And out of everything, almost a year had gone for me trying to figure out what I was going to do with that. That was the only thing that felt right. And so I did that. It was the best day ever. The sun was out, the wind was blowing. It was just a perfect day to give back to the community. And doing that event, I got to take part in helping over 700 families receive food that otherwise they may not have had, and just be able to connect with people and them saying thank you for this. Some of them in tears. Even had me getting a little bit emotional, because I was able to be impactful in a different way. And in that, there was a highlight in there of getting some recognition for giving back to the community, and just sharing that story and how it really did touch me and continues to fuel energy today for other things that I do outside of that.
Right, man. That was a beautiful impact that you provided for the community. Now, getting back to the job, the career, what do you think our HTM industry's impact is on patient care, in your opinion?
Oh man, I think our impact on patient care is right up there with, and maybe arguably so, is right up there with the people who are given direct care. And what I mean by that is it's a lot of things that we do that help them to help the patient. It's things that we do that in the technology space that allow them to help more than one patient at a time. And what we do, we get the opportunity to provide valuable insights on the quality of equipment that we service. We get to provide the reliability on it, as far as it's supportable for an extended amount of time. We also are helping identify potential cyber risk in the HTM as well now. And we also are in a position to help organizations minimize waste so that they can utilize funds in order to provide higher levels of care to patients. And I could keep going, but I just feel like our impact may not be felt by those directly on the outside, but without us, we as an industry, not saying just HTM, but as a healthcare industry, would not be in a great place. That's my personal opinion.
Collaboration. I'm real high on collaborating with people within our different departments in the hospital. Now, how important do you think collaboration is for HTM professionals?
You got to be able to collaborate. You got to be able to collaborate with those hospital leaders and departments. And when I say leaders, I don't mean just the director or manager of a department. Sometimes it's just the new tech in radiology, right? They're still a leader in what they're doing, because at that point in time in which they're providing patient care, right, they're leading that patient in and they're being trusted to be able to provide a diagnostic test, right? So if you can have a partnership with every level of a department in some shape or form, right? When you need access to get a piece of equipment, or you trying to find a piece of equipment that you haven't been able to find, those relationships help you be successful and help them be successful so they can have the equipment they need when they need it. The other thing that I believe it comes out of those relationships is, and that's just to be transparent, everything is not going to go 100% correct. And in those times, those relationships can be the determining factor if you have someone who's willing to work with you through that and help identify ways that whatever gap was created can be closed is vital. It also helps in the world, especially in the third party space, right? When you can have those relationships on a higher level than just, hey, I'm here to do a PM on a piece of equipment. It helps you have longevity. And again, this is my opinion. It helps you have longevity within your department, because people see you as somebody who is a collaborative person, or you have a collaborative team versus someone that's adversarial.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Collaboration works so many ways. I mean, like you hit head on with the directors and departments, we have to collaborate with them, because that's the only way we're going to get a seat at the table, because we're already stuffed way in the back of the hospital. So we have to come out that back cave or basement, back in the back by the morgue. So we don't come out those offices and collaborate with these individuals. And a lot of that comes from doing daily rounds. That can be the beginning of it. But let me ask you this one more question here. What drives you to stay passionate about the HTM industry every day? What's your motivation?
I think for me, the thing that drives my motivation, it extends back to the beginning. And I remember my mom asking me what type of company or what type of organization, what did I want to do? And I told her that I wanted to work for a big, small industry. And she said, "What does that even mean, son?" And so I said to her, I want to work for a organization, an industry that's doing a lot for people, and it may not be fully known to the extent of what they are doing, but they're doing some big things. They might not be the household name. They might not be the one you first even think about, but they're having impact on life and the community. And so every now and then I get back and thinking about, hey, why did I get in this industry? And then I can look back over the timeline of life and think about the different instances of ways that because of my supportive healthcare system and the team support that I was a part of, we were able to do the thing that I said all those years ago. And it also helps that my wife is also in healthcare as well, too. And so while I don't work in the same environment that I did work in all the time, through her, I still see the impact of what it is that we do in our industry to support their efforts. And I have other friends that are that. And then I do go to hospitals still and do things to support them. And I would say something that just happened recently, and I wouldn't even call it an aha moment, but I would say, wow, there was a increased connection to purpose. I was visiting a client, and had just parked in the parking garage, walking into the building, and a husband and wife were coming out. And the wife had made it to the vehicle, and the husband was in a wheelchair. The husband said, "Excuse me, sir, could you please help me?" And I said, "Yes, sir. What can I do for you?" He said, "I can make it to my car, but I know I don't have the gas left in my tank to put the wheelchair in the back. Could you please assist me with that?" I said, "Yes, sir. Whatever it is that you need, I got you." And so he made it. He was able to get out the wheelchair, got it, fold him up, and he was just so appreciative and so thankful for the fact that I took a moment to assist him and his wife, and she was so happy that as well because she looked like she was tired. And in that moment for me, it was like, wow, I got for a brief moment in time to take a small, tiny burden off of somebody to give them a little moment of peace and a lack of worry. So when those type of things like that happen, it just keeps me engaged and wanting to be a part of this thing we do in healthcare, this wonderful profession that found me in a lot of ways and that I've chosen to continue to be in and will continue to be in for years to come. And so I would say, those moments are what keeps me energized.
Yes, that's it, man. That sense of purpose is amazing. You can't put a price tag on that. And that would really drives most HTM professionals because what we do, it's life-saving work. And we pay a contributing part to the day-to-day ongoings in the hospital, in the healthcare ecosystem as a whole, for that matter. So you hit it on the head. When you have that purpose, that makes everything, it stopped becoming work and it becomes a purpose. Or like I like to tell people sometimes, it becomes your calling for you to do the things you're doing. And I thoroughly enjoyed talking with you, Justin, man. You have to come back again, man. I really enjoyed it. you have a very inspiring story, and I'm more than sure it's going to benefit someone because it definitely benefited me today. And I thank you for your time. And you're welcome back anytime you want, brother.
Hey man, thank you so much, Brian, for the invite. I welcome the opportunity to come back and talk about whatever topics that we need to.
That's a wrap for today's episode of HTM on the Line. Justin Smith's journey in healthcare technology management has been nothing short of remarkable. His leadership, mentorship, and dedication to both his profession and his community truly exemplify what it means to make a lasting impact. Justin's story is a powerful reminder of how we can all contribute to the better outcomes in healthcare. Thank you for joining us, and as always, stay motivated, keep learning, and let's continue elevating the HTM industry together.